Headlines are very essential in the print media industry. The headline is the summary of a story. The headline is used to attract attention to a story. So the headline is very important in the print media industry. The headline is the title of a story, whether it is a straight news report or a feature story. Any kind of write-up you have in the newspaper has a headline, and the headline is very important to that story because it is what attracts audience attention. It is what determines most often whether a story will be read or not. So the headline does the first job of catching the attention of the readers. Whether it is the physical copy of the newspaper or whether it is the online edition, the fact is that headline is very essential. And there are several kinds of headlines that appear in newspapers. So we're going to look at those headlines. Whether it is for straight news report or for feature story, we're going to look at different kinds of headlines that you find in newspapers. Some of these headline types are basically seen on the front page. Most others can appear anywhere, whether it is the front page or the inside pages or even the back page. So the name of the headline could be derived from the way it is typeset in the newspaper or the approach used in writing it. And that's why we say we need to mention different kinds of headlines to you so that when you open the newspaper or magazine and then look at a headline, you could easily identify what type of headline that is. So here are the basic kinds of headlines that you find in newspapers. Let's begin by discussing the banner headline and hammer headline together. Most times the banner and hammer headlines, they come on the front page of the newspaper. Most of the lead headlines on the front pages of newspapers always appear in two basic formats, either the banner headline or the hammer headline, because they attract attention. These two forms of headline attract attention. So what is the banner headline and the hammer headline? The banner headline often comes on the front page of the newspaper. It is a headline printed in extra large letters that runs across the front page of a newspaper. Whenever you check the cover of a newspaper and you see a sentence that runs across as headline written in large letters, then it is the banner headline. It could appear on top of the newspaper, immediately below the masthead or nameplate, or above the masthead or nameplate. There are some headlines that are like that, or in the middle of the newspaper after some portions of the story. That's the style that some newspapers use these days to attract attention. Some headlines don't start from the traditional top position. They could come in the middle. After one story has started on top, the banner headline could come in the middle, and then some others appear above the masthead. The hammer headline. The hammer headline is a large headline that comes in very few words, often 1, 2, or 3 words, printed across the entire columns on the front page. The hammer headline runs across the front page, most times across all the columns. The hammer headline appears above a smaller main headline. It is written in 1 or 2 words, sometimes in 3 words. So the hammer headline is a form of kicker. That is, it's a headline that appears above the main headline, but it is used as the main headline because of the size, because of the number of words, because of the catchy nature. So what newspapers do is that they blow the kicker, and once the kicker is blown, it becomes hammer headline. It appears above the main headline. Now when you see the main headline, it becomes very small, as if it's a sub headline, but it is the main headline. So the hammer headline appears above the main headline, but it is large. You see it as if it's the main headline in the story because it is what attracts attention to the newspaper. The hammer headline could also appear as a standalone headline, but with riders explaining it further. So the hammer headline is different from the banner headline because it's not always written in present continuous tense. Most hammer headlines don't come in present continuous tense, whereas the banner headlines come in present continuous tense. Most hammer headlines are not even complete sentences, whereas the banner headline is a complete sentence. Hammer headline introduces the theme of the story, just like most kickers. The hammer headline introduces the theme of the story, whereas the banner headline presents the content of the report that you are reading. The hammer headline provides a background of the story. It provides a background of the story. That's why we say it provides the theme of the story. The banner headline is reflected in the first paragraph, but the Hammer headline, it provides a background. The main headline is smaller in nature and it appears under the Hammer headline. Deck headline. Deck headline. This is a short sentence which follows the main headline and provides a summary of the article or story. So for feature story, you find the deck headline as the blob. It's called the blob, and it's a one sentence summary of the article. For the straight news report, the deck headline is like the rider. It provides extra information about the story. Kicker. Kicker. The kicker provides subject of the story. It comes above the main headline. It provides a quick background summary of what the main headline is all about. Like we explained earlier, the Hammer headline is a kind of kicker because it comes above the main headline. Most kickers come as a phrase or a very short sentence, but they are not written in present continuous tense. They are like summary statements. Most times the kicker could even be a word or two, but the fact is that the kicker provides the summary of the main story. It provides a background summary of what the main headline is all about. Rider. The rider is an addition to the main headline. It comes after the main headline, most times under the main headline. So it provides extra information that could not be contained in the main headline. It is called the rider. And the rider oftentimes comes in present continuous tense, but you will notice that it is an addition. It explains further other contents of the story that could not be added to the main headline. So in order not to make the headline too heavy, you use a kind of additional headline called the rider. Jump headline. This is a headline written to indicate that a story is the continuation of a previous one. Most times the stories that appear on the front page, for instance, they don't end there. So you could find just a paragraph or two on the front page and then it continues somewhere inside the newspaper. So most times what you have is what I call a jump headline, indicating that this story is a continuation of a previous one, whether it's on the cover or even previous page of the newspaper. That is why I call it the jump headline. It's a headline that indicates that the story you are reading is a continuation of a previous one. Screaming headline. Screaming headline, also called the screamer. This is a headline that runs across 4 or more columns of a newspaper, whether it is the front page or the inside page. The fact is that the screamer is set in large type and it runs across the page. Sometimes you find it being typeset using exclamation mark or question mark. The fact is that it is large and it runs across 4 or more columns on a page. Quotation headline. This is a headline that uses quotation from the who element of a story, the main source of the story. So you just pick out a statement made by the main source of a story and then you place it as the headline. Now this could be used for feature story or for straight news report. Then indicate the source, attribute that quotation to a source. Crossline headline. Crossline headline. The crossline headline is a single line sentence headline that runs across a story. It does not always run across the complete width of the columns. So it might be centered over the columns. It must not get to the end of the columns. Over banner headline. Over banner headline. The over banner headline is a kind of banner headline that comes above the nameplate or the masthead of the newspaper. Yes, it's rarely used, but some newspapers use this to attract attention. It is also called skyline headline. The over banner headline is also called skyline headline or over the roof headline. Teaser headline. Teaser headline. The teaser headline is a kind of headline that is used to attract readers to a story written inside the page of the publication. It is often used on the cover of magazines or weekend newspapers. Sometimes you just see a headline and then you see the page of the magazine or newspaper where the story appeared. So you find teaser headline, even on the front page of newspapers, you find teaser headline. All you will see is the headline and then the page where you find the story. Teaser headline, teaser headline. Next is skyline headline. We've said earlier that the skyline headline is a kind of banner headline that appears above the masthead of a newspaper. So the skyline headline is also called the overbanner headline. The skyline headline, same as overbanner headline. Blanket headline, blanket headline. The blanket headline runs across all columns of a story or a combination of related stories. It is used to cover all stories that talk about the same theme or issue or related issues. Instead of having different headlines, you use the blanket headline to cover all of them. You find this in newspapers when there are different stories on the same issue, probably received from different correspondents. You could find the blanket headline running across all the stories. Maybe all those stories appeared in 4 or 5 columns. One headline is used to cover all of them. It is called the blanket headline. Sometimes you could find sub-headlines under the blanket headline indicating that those stories came from maybe different correspondents or different cities. But the fact is that the blanket headline is used to cover all stories that are related to the same issue or are written on the same theme. Over the roof headline. Over the roof headline. Over the roof headline is also overbanner headline. Over the roof headline is a kind of headline that appears above the masthead or nameplate. We said over the roof headline is the same as overbanner headline and it's the same as skyline headline. We're just mentioning them separately so that if you find any of these terms being used, just know that they are the same. That's why we decided to define them differently. Over the roof headline, skyline headline, overbanner headline. Hi everyone, I'm your favorite doc. I don't know why you guys don't subscribe to my YouTube channel even after watching my videos. But I give you guys good content, yet you don't subscribe. Oh no. I want blue. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, please.